Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Backlakes Bushcraft and Outdoors. I'm your host, Big Shem, and this is just going to be a quick video. One that I promised you is about the knives and everything. There were some questions asked about my knife, so hopefully this clears everything up and everything. Like I said, it was nothing bad. It's just some people were asking me some questions and everything. So let me set the cameras up a different angle, and we'll start this show. Go grab a beverage of your choice, sit back, relax. Like I said, this is going to be a short video. It's not going to be long at all. It's just going to be on the knives and everything, and then I'll talk about something else. So stay tuned. Okay, glad you made it back. One of the main questions was asked of me, Big Shem, some of the knives that you sell look different from the ones that you use out in the field. Let me clarify this up for you all. Here's the knife I sell. Okay. This is it here. Alright. Set that there. This here is my utility belt. This is the one you guys see me wear out in the field all the time. This is my knife here. Same exact knife. So you can see it's the same exact knife, same sharpness, same thickness, same height, same everything. There's only one thing different about this knife than this knife, okay? And I'm going to be making a change to all the new knives that are going out. And also you'll notice this knife here is what they call a sandstone wash. Okay, I actually just did this a couple days ago, so if you look at all my other videos, it'll be shiny like this. Like I said, I just did this a couple days ago. I'm testing this knife. So let me explain. This knife here is the very first one I made. This is the one that started it all. The only difference between this knife and this knife are these pins that hold the scales in. Okay, this knife here, mine, is what I think you guys are referring to. I have set screws in here, and the reason being is I'm constantly testing this knife. I abuse this knife beyond what you guys could ever put a knife through. I've done everything to this knife except shoot a 50 cal through it, and that might be coming up in a new episode, so stay tuned for that one. We'll figure it out. But this has actually been my knife from day one. And like I said, the only thing is different set screws, and I'm constantly testing this, changing it, making it better for you guys. But I really haven't had to modify it that much. But I do change the scales on it a lot, which I'll explain here shortly and everything. Other than that, like I said, it's the same exact knife, same bone cutter, scraper, 90-degree spine on everything, same sheath, same everything. So I hope that clarifies up those questions for you and everything. Like I said, it's a very good knife. It was designed off the Tom Brown tracker and everything. I just made a smaller version of it. I had a lot of women that were having problems using the bigger version of it, so I came up with this version and a couple other things that the Tom Brown tracker doesn't have. And but by all means, it's an excellent knife. The Tom Brown tracker, my knife, and everything. So with that being said, The new changes that are coming up was all the new knives are going to come with set screws in them, so you can change the scales on them. When I designed this knife, I wanted to design it so you could customize it to make it your own. I wanted to do the same principles as the company Harley-Davidson, and I'm by no means endorsed by them. I have a few bikes, and I ride their bikes for like a long time. But if you notice, there's 10 million different Harley-Davidsons out there, but each one's different in their own way. Everybody customizes them to make them their own. That was the same idea that I wanted to do with this knife here and everything. And so that's basically what I came up with. So everybody could change the scales, change the inlays. If you want it in a stone wash, we're going to start producing it as a stone wash method. If you want it, it's made out of 1095 carbon steel and everything. I know everybody likes the carbon steel, so that's what it's actually made out of and everything. Also, we came up with, for you stainless steel guys, this is J2 420 stainless steel. It's the best steel out there, stainless steel anyway, that you can find and everything. I spared no expense at having this made. This will be also available and everything, and at the end of this video I'll tell you all how to get a hold of me to order one of these or one of the other knives and everything. But we came up with this design. I've actually, this blank here doesn't have any scales on it. I do have another one that has scales on it. I've been testing it. I've had fantastic results with it. It's an excellent knife. The only thing is you don't have to oil it all the time to keep it from rusting, you know. Just like a Harley almost. But anyway, long story short, you'll be able to order this in a stainless steel version as well. With that being in mind, I also came up with different scales. Now, this knife here is made out of hickory. That's the sheet or the wood that it comes with for the scales. Now comes up with hickory. So I'm coming up with a DIY kit for you guys, because I know a lot of you guys like to build your own kits and everything, and these are just some of the colors. I think there's like 67 different colors that we came up with, but these are just some of them. You know, pink for the ladies, purple for the ladies, purple and black, swirls, black and reds, and everything. Some funky green looking thing. You also will be able to do this in micarta. I think this is a blue and red, or blue and black, I'm sorry, blue and black micarta. This is a green and red micarta. Also, you'll be able, we're gonna come up with different various woods, a lot of exotic woods for this, for you guys, and they'll come in a kit form. You know, it'll be a blank, you know, knife blank, 2 scales, set screws, and everything, and all you got to do is just form it and make it your own. Well, also, if you want it already pre-made, I'm going to make that available for you guys too. If you guys want a certain color or anything like that, you could just tell me, and we can make that for you too as well. So with that being said, that's everything on the Backlakes Bushcraft knife. I want to thank everybody who's before I forget, a lot of you have purchased this already with the pins in it. If you want to change the scales on it, it's not a problem. I'm coming up with a little kit. All you have to do is just purchase the scales and the screws. and I'll show you guys how to, not in this video, but in the directions, I'll show you how to knock these pins out, take these scales off, and you can change it to your own scales, and retap the blade so you can put the set screws in. It's real simple to do. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me when I tell you this. Like I said, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So for everybody who's already purchased one, and I don't know offhand how many is out there, but there's a lot. Like I said, if you guys are watching this and you want to change the scales, the wood part here, you'll be able to do that as well. I wanted to make sure everybody could do that as well. So that's everything on the Backlakes Bushcraft knife. These points right here, I had them designed. They do numerous things. Now the thing with this knife is, the only thing that's holding you back is your imagination and what you want this knife to actually do and perform to do. When I personally designed it, I designed this to do a couple things. These two little points here, or divots, you can use it to strike a smaller ferro rod if you want. This one on the this larger one down here is also if you want to strike a ferro rod. It's also if you want to wrap 550 cord around and use it to pull, make your knots tighter or whatever. I've even used this as a fishing line. I wrapped the fishing line around it, stuck it to a tree, boom, it sat there while the fish bit. I just grabbed it, pulled it, reeled it in. Easy peasy. It's an old piney trick. Nothing spectacular. It's been around 100 years. I didn't come up with it. It's just something that they did back then. Also has a, you'll notice it has a curve here and everything, and everybody thinks this is where you hit it to baton. You can, but that's not what it was designed for. It's actually designed, if you guys field dress a animal out in the field, it's really important once you skin it, if you're going to save the hide, to use the hide or whatever, to scrape the hide, what they call scraping the hide. And so what you do is you actually find a tree and you lay your hide, say this is the hide, and you lay it over and everything, and use this to scrape. And you want to get all the membrane off the hide, because if you leave any of that membrane on there, you'll actually ruin the hide, believe it or not, if you know anything about tanning hides. So that's what that was actually designed for. Also, this serrated edge here, everybody thinks it's a serrated knife or a saw. It kind of is, but you would be there all day trying to saw something with it. You can, if you have time to kill, you can actually use that for that. What I designed it for was actually to notch a piece of wood. If you wanted to tie something, tie cordage or rope around it. I don't know if you can see that, but it makes a nice notch. It would take forever to saw through this. Sometimes you have to saw through bone, if you're field dressing a game, what have you. That's what it was basically designed for, was to cut through bone, small branch, a notcher, whatever. The possibilities are endless. Whatever you could possibly come up with. Now also, this part of this blade here, okay, you can use it as a chopper. I don't recommend it, but you can use it as a chopper. If you know anything about the Tom Brown tracker, the head on it's like that big, so when you chop, you're taking out big chunks. This I wouldn't use as a chopper. If I was to chop something, it'd probably be a branch about that big, nothing spectacular. But this is also razor sharp, and it will cut. You can skin game, make feather sticks, whatever your little heart desires. You've seen me cook with it. I've chopped food with it. I've made feather sticks. I've batoned with it. Now, getting back to the batoning part, I made it so when you go to baton, I'm not going to baton this piece, but I usually put the baton there. You'll see me hit the tip here. Okay. You'll never really ever see me hit this part here. You can, I just don't do it. Like I said, I get the convex of the blade and I put it right to where I want. Usually it's something smaller than this piece of wood here. And then you'll see me, I'll tap it down and then break it apart and baton it down. That's how I do it, you know. You got to find out what works best for you. You know, like I said, I designed this knife to do a whole bunch of different things. Now, this part here, you can see right here, is actually sharper than this part. And I made this for doing finer tasks. Being if you wanted to whittle something, fire stick, you know, if you want to make shavings, the bow here, you can use a scraper to scrape bark off of a cedar tree, whatever, to make, you know, fire tender, what have you. But this part of the blade here is actually sharper than this blade here. So this here is designed for smaller tasks, smaller carvings, you know, cut rope, open boxes, whatever your little heart desires. But that's what this knife was designed for. And it doesn't come with a lanyard. I put the lanyard on there. And I used to carry, you'll see a lot of my videos with a black 550 paracord. And I actually lost this knife a couple times, and luckily I found it, and I switched it to orange paracord so I could find it if I lay it down. But usually I put it right back in my sheath. But there was a couple times I didn't. You know, it happens. So, still comes with my logo on it. You'll be able to order this in plain sandstone or stonewash finish and stuff like that. But that's the only difference between this knife and that knife. Like I said, they're the same knives. I wouldn't make something for myself and then turn around and try to sell you guys something totally different. That's not how I roll. If anybody knows me, if I'm gonna put my name on it and I'm gonna abuse it, I'm gonna make sure it's good enough for you guys. Okay, so with that being said, what's new for 2020? I was talking to a couple of my manufacturer and everything, and each one of these knives I've made, axe knives, I've made each one of these, and they make them for me, and then they send them back to me, and I test every one of them before I send them out to you guys. So here's a version of my Puko knife that we came up with and everything, and it's an excellent knife. Bone handle, excellent brass fittings and everything. The blade is also made out of 1095 carbon steel. It's a drop point, typical bushcraft knife. Excellent. A lot of these knives, when you examine them, and I examine like a lot of knives before I make them, because I always try to make them better and everything. I noticed that they only go like half tang. Okay, now this one's not full. Well, let me take that back. This is not what you would consider a full tang. It's actually a 3/4 tang, and it actually stops right about here. Okay, so the tang actually goes all the way through. But a lot of knives, if you see these type of knives, are either a half tang, or I'm sorry, a quarter tang, a half tang, and very rarely I see 3/4 tangs. I don't know why they do that. Must be a marketing thing. I really don't know. But if you want a good knife that's gonna do you good out in the field, because that's what I believe in, I don't want it to fail, I want it to work. This is also a good knife to have. I've tested this one extensively. In fact, I'm gonna actually take this one out in one of my trips here shortly, because there's some things I want to try to do with it and everything. But that's the Backlakes Puko version. Now, some of you guys were asking me about a machete, if I was going to make a machete slash chopper, wood carver, whatever. Me personally, I like machetes, they're fine, but they're too long and they're too flimsy and they're too bulky to carry. Some people like them. I'm not knocking anybody. I would never do that. So is what I came up with was this version, and that's razor sharp from there all the way down to there, all the way down to here. I made it so you could use it as a pry, another notcher along here, and it's also made out of 1/4 inch also 1095 carbon steel. As you can see in the handle how thick it actually is, and this will be available, and you can customize this too. This thing is actually a beast. In fact, that's what I named it. It's called the Backlakes Beast. I didn't want it too long as a machete, but it's long enough if you want to use it as a chopper, make feather sticks, batoning, whatever your little heart can come up with to use for this, that's what you can do with it. I had an original version of this, who came up with this design, and I noticed it was too flimsy. It's not good if you needed to make a pry or anything to that effect. So is what I did is I actually made it 1/4 inch steel, and it's not flimsy anymore, but it is heavy. So if you guys order this, I'm letting you know this is actually 16 inches from tip to the end and everything. And I don't know the weight off a hand. I just know it's heavy. It's heavier than a normal knife than you would actually carry. It probably weighs around the same as a Tom Brown tracker. But it's very maneuverable and everything like that. Very sharp, razor sharp. In fact, when I first got it, I actually pulled it out of the case and I sliced my finger when I first got it. So be very careful because it's very sharp. And like I said, this is going to be available. In fact, that's available now. All these knives and everything. Now, also, I'm a big fan of the Siberian chef knife, and I was doing some research on it, and I noticed that the Russians would use this particular knife and everything from like bushcrafting to cooking to chopping to you name it. There's a lot of history behind this knife. So is what I did is I got one of the original Siberian knives and I came up with my version of it, and this is what I came up with. And also I made this a little bit thicker than a normal Siberian chef knife. This one is actually 1/4 inch 1095 steel as well, hand forged steel. It's very sharp. It's a great chopper, cleaver, field dresser, whatever you want to do with it, you can do it with it. But here it is. Here's my version of the Siberian chopper knife and everything. And it comes with hand quality sheath, as all these knives do. just got to be real careful because it is definitely sharp and it does cut. Oh, and I added the belt dangler because I did notice when I got the original, it didn't have a belt dangler. Okay, it actually had where you can hook it onto your belt through there. But what I noticed was I saw an old-time video. It wasn't actually a video, it was a picture. I saw one, and the guy had a dangler hooked up to it, and he actually had it hooked to, he had like a haversack type deal, and he had it hooked to that. So that's what I made that for. I know a lot of you guys like the danglers. You can dangle it off your belt. However you want to do it. Whatever you want to do. And I got the hook on there in case you want to take it off. You can take it off and everything. It's no big deal. Like I said, the picture I saw was from an old-time picture of the Siberians, Russian guys using these and everything. Okay, now getting to my axe that everybody's been asking me about. As you know, I have tons of axes, hatchets. I've got the most expensive hatchets, I've got the most expensive axes, I've got the cheapest axes, I wanted to come up with an axe that was cool looking for one thing, but I wanted it to be functional for everybody. So this is what I came up with, and it's based off of Viking design. And the reason I did that, looking back in history, the Vikings were simple people, and they didn't have like a lot of money, you know, like everybody portrays them to be and everything. And if they had, you know, you see all the shows, they show them with swords and stuff. No, they didn't have that all that. They mostly had an axe and a knife. Most Vikings, if they were like an upper class, if you had a sword, you were considered upper class from the stories that I've been told. And I have a lot of friends that do a lot of Viking stuff, and a lot of friends that I consider are Vikings, believe it or not. So when I designed this axe here, it was based off of a Viking design that I saw, and I read the history on it and how they used it and everything. And it was made so you could choke up on it. It's made to bring it down. The angle, the way the angle is, it's great for chopping. Believe it or not, you can actually use this as a meat cleaver, making feather sticks. It's sharp enough. This is also made out of 1095 steel and everything. You have to keep it oiled. The handle I made out of, this was made out of hickory, I believe. Hickory and everything. And then I just did the leather embroidered, you know, on it and everything. And it has my name, my logo in it. And you can actually use it as a thrower if you want to throw it like a tomahawk. I don't recommend it, but if you needed to, you can. Has a million uses. It's heavy enough to do what you need to do, but light enough for you to handle. You know, you can chop, dice, cut, split, baton. Made the edge flat so you can baton it if you want. You know, I think you've seen me do it in a couple videos like that. I've also designed the sheath, so if you wanted to hang it, you know, this way off your belt, you can. Some guys flip it around in case you want to do a quick pull, and they do it that way. So it'll be looped on both ends, so you can pull it off of that. Comes with fancy artwork, all handcrafted and everything. And that's that on the axe. So again, I thank you for watching. everything, and I hope that answers everybody's questions. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to hit me up, leave a comment. Make sure you hit the like and share. That's always appreciated. And again, I want to thank everybody for staying tuned to watch this, and I will catch you on the next one. Oh, and I will put links down so you'll know how to get a hold of this knife. You'll be able to get it on my Etsy store, or you can email me. I'll put all that stuff down at the bottom here, and you'll be able to get a hold of one of these beautiful knives. Make one your own, or make one, or I can have one made for you. Again, thank you as always, and thank you for all my subscribers and all my new subscribers. I love every one of you. I love all the comments you read, and I'll be sure to get back in touch with each and every one of you. And I believe that's all for now, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace out.